There are two ways you can go after a performance like Clemson had on Monday night. One would be the Nick Saban route. We think that we're better than we are. We won't win another game the rest of the year if we play like that. These guys are reading the headlines. They didn't realize that we had to play a really good opponent. We better focus or it's going to be a long season. Brian Kelly did that after his loss. He called out the players. He called out how bad everything was. Saban, though, is the master of this. Even after a big win, he slams the players. We're not very good. We've got to clean this thing up. These guys think we're better than we are. We've got to put in the work. But after a loss like 28-7, you know that Saban and other coaches, but Saban notably, would just be like, we're garbage and it's going to be a long season. To wake his guys up. Dabo went the opposite route. And Dabo naturally is a more optimistic type of guy, more energetic type of guy than Saban. He's not as dour, he's not as cynical, etc. But Dabo went the complete opposite, which was, if we play offense like that, we won't lose again the rest of the season. Now, Dabo can be critical of his team. Dabo can be honest. But in this case, he's not being honest. Because, as we know, offense is not just about gaining yards, which they did. They threw for 200, ran for 200. Traditionally, that has been a winning formula for Clemson and most other teams. But that's not just what offense is. Offense is oftentimes based not on the yards in terms of success that you gain, but instead the points that you score. That when you get inside the red zone, that you get 7 instead of 3. That's good offense. When you get inside the red zone, you don't have turnovers. You make sure you get points. Efficiency on third downs. Efficiency in the red zone. Efficiency near the goal line. Those are signs of offensive success, not just yards totaled. And I think that Dabo is conveniently framing this as, I'll sign up for that every single day. If we play offense like that, we won't lose again. Why? Because there's a crisis of confidence at his quarterback position and with the fans. That's what's happening. And Dabo knows it. Dabo spent the entire offseason convincing everybody the offense was going to hum unlike it's been since Trevor Lawrence was there. We're taking the shackles off and all that old stuff. Cade's got it. I'm excited. This kid's got the goods. We've got a great offensive scheme. I love what the coaches are doing. It's going to be new. It wasn't. It looked exactly like it had with DJ Uiagalelei. And Cade Klubnik is supposed to represent the next. This is supposed to be big-armed kid, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, now Cade Klubnik. And we saw some flashes last year. But if you saw the scheme the other night against Duke, they didn't really let him rip. They really had him throwing underneath, a lot of short stuff, in the flat, don't take chances. And I think Dabo might have wanted to paint the picture of the offense is going to be way better than the last couple of years, which is what every Clemson fan wanted to hear, but maybe knows realistically that Cade's not as good as previously indicated, or Cade's suffering from some type of confidence issue, lack of, and needs to pump them up. Pump up the offense, because it'll be a long season if they start getting down to themselves, because the quarterback isn't as naturally gifted and confident as Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. The second part is expectations at Clemson changed. You can't sell Clemson fans anymore on 10-3. Once upon a time, 10-3 and playing in the ACC championship game is pretty good. Once upon a time, winning the ACC is really good. Once upon a time, a Sugar Bowl or an Orange Bowl is awesome. It's not the case anymore. When you look at the years of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence between 2015 and 2020, here are the final rankings of Clemson in those 6 years. 2, 1, 4, 1, 2, 3. They didn't finish lower than 4th in the final AP ranking for 5 straight years. They were in 4 national championship games, won 2 of them, and had 2 generational quarterbacks. Well, once you go through 5 years of being in the playoff, of being in college football's final game, of winning those games, the whole idea of Clemsoning went out the window. And you've got to give Dabo credit on that. For a generation, Clemsoning just simply meant good, but they'll definitely stub their toe when it matters most. Talented, but they'll lose a bad game. They'll gag. They'll choke. And for 5 years, they didn't. For 5 straight years, they were an elite college football program. And since a Cheez-It Bowl and an Orange Bowl, last year got blown out in the Orange Bowl, and both seasons, 3 lost teams. And while they won the ACC last year, that was about the least dominant, least inspirational ACC championship just about ever. And I think Dabo is walking a very delicate line where he knows 10-3 is not good enough. 10-3 winning the ACC and going to the Orange Bowl is not good enough anymore. But that we got to start maybe pumping up the fans like, don't worry, we're going to be okay. And I'm not saying it doesn't sound a little delusional, because it does. But I have a sense that that's where it's at, where Clemson fans are like, no, we don't lose to Duke. And you shouldn't lose to Duke. As good as Duke is, you should not lose to Duke, even if it's at Durham. And you should not lose 28-7. You should not have all those mistakes. But I just wonder if Dabo's like, crap, we're never going to get, well, I shouldn't say never. I don't think he thinks that way. But we're not getting back soon to Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, and Cade Klubnik ain't that. And we just got to keep everybody somewhat positive for the first 2 months of the season, because we're just not that good anymore. And they might never be that good anymore. Maybe. I also think when you lose to Duke 28-7 and you really were honest, it would send shivers down everybody's spine that you're really not good. That was not just an anomaly. That Florida State blew by you, and you've got a couple of other tough games. And, yeah, you can win a few easy ACC games, but doesn't mean you're very good. And maybe there's like a startling realization that, oh, crap, we're not as good as everybody thinks. And the last thing I need to do is talk reality right now, because it's an ugly reality. We'll see. But I thought it was interesting that after that performance against Duke, it was sunshine and roses from Dabo. I thought it was strategic, and I don't think it was strategic because it was good. I thought it was strategic because it was bad.